everybody, it's Cinnamon Cooney, your Art Sherpa, and today I have such an exciting painting to share with you. This is a gorgeous brass teapot on a little still life with fabric, with baby's breath, with all these different textures, all these different techniques. It's fantastic. I'm going to show you exactly how you create this for yourself. I'm going to show you every technique, every color mix, every tool, every brush, everything that I'm doing so that you can create this for yourself at home. To help me do that is my husband, John.
Hello.
You're going to hear him on the mic. He makes sure that one of our robotic cameras is pointing at what I'm talking about at all times so that you can really see. He zooms in. He makes sure you can see the palette, all of that, because what you can see, you can generally duplicate yourself. Now, this is part of a really fun painting program called Acrylic August, where from August 1st to August 31st, I'm meeting every day with my community to do a new painting. I get asked all the time as an art instructor, I've been doing this for like 10 years on YouTube, how can I be a better painter? And there's lots of techniques, there's lots of things to learn. It's super fun, but the number one thing that makes you better at art is doing more art. So I love doing these challenges with my community because no matter where you're starting from at the beginning of this, right, by the end, you will be better. You will have gained more skills. You will have grown as an artist. There's just painting every single day just does that to you.
Yeah.
It's a huge thing, but it really has huge payoffs. So if you're still here and you're doing this challenge, I want to pat you on the back for that. Now, I don't expect you to draw the teapot. If you check the description down below, there is a free traceable that you can download. You don't have to be a patron or anything. It's just on the website and you can go grab it. Though I don't mind if you are. I really appreciate it when you guys do that. It's just not a requirement of the traceable. There's also extra information about materials, brushes that I use, everything like the chapters, so you can see how long the video is going to take, like a lot of stuff. I'd like to hide it in the description. That's all the stuff that you need to know to do this lesson. So there's nothing for you to really do, but check that description, get your paint, get your brushes, come back and meet me at the easel. We're going to paint this together. So for today's class, the materials I'm using is an 8x8 canvas. This particular one is an Art Alternatives canvas, and I really, really like these. On my palette, I have ultramarine blue, cad red medium, cad yellow medium, yellow ochre, burnt sienna, Mars black, titanium white. Right here, I have satin glazing liquid. You could use gloss. Either is fine. We use satin just because of the camera can't see past that bright reflection. And so we use a more of a mattifying finish.
Yeah.
But either is fine for what that does. The product, what it does is it slows down the drying time of your paint and extends it and allows you to glaze. All of which we're going to be using on this painting quite a lot. And then the other thing I may use is my titanium white fluid acrylic for some detailing at the end. We'll just have to see how that goes. Throw up step 1, sir. We'll start having some fun. I'm going to grab a 1-inch oval mop, get a little bit wet, and then I'll dry it off with my towel, like squeeze that excess water out, and I will load up with my glazing liquid. If you don't have glazing liquid, you just want to have enough water in your brush to thin the paint. I have a video called How Much Water, and it tells you how to balance the water in your brush. I'm going to bring a little bit of blue, nice blue, over to my black, and I'm going to make a blue-black. Blue-black. Let's grab a little bit of white to create this blue-gray. This is just really nice against the teapot.
It is a nice background. I like the color a lot.
Yeah, it's a good color. Just kind of a blue-gray. And right now I'm just painting in the background. Just making sure there's enough color everywhere. Paint around the sides if I need to. And back and forth. In the second one, we're going to go deeper. We're going to get a richness to the background. But right now, what I've done is I have painted a solid color on the canvas. And then what I'm going to want to do is to dry it thoroughly so I can do a second coat with a little more atmosphere. So when we come back, we'll do that, but I'm going to dry my canvas. Now, I want to say to you one thing about when I dry my canvas. Whenever I'm drying my canvas and you're drying your canvas, what you want to do is push pause on the video and then hit play when your canvas is dry, and that will keep us painting together in time. So just a little tip. I'll see you in a second. So for this next part, I'm going to want to darken this side of the canvas and then have this part be a slightly smokier gray. So I'm going to take my ultramarine blue into my brush again, maybe a little glazing liquid so it's got good flow. Bring it over to my black and make another dark blue-gray, really dark. And I'm going to come here and do this second layer. Now, the glazing liquid is going to slow down the drying time of my paint. If I wasn't using it, I would need to work very, very quickly, which you can do, by the way, just with water and speed.
Yeah.
So I'm just bringing this around here. Now, as I start to come up into this corner, I'm going to get a little bit more white into this mix. So it's a blue-gray, a little bit lighter than the background. That kind of implies a very light source.
It's a touch pretty color.
We're just creating a little bit of a light source and we're blending here. And come back across. Then back down diagonally the opposite way. I'm just blending in. And take a little bit of glazing liquid and white. And just blend in a little bit of kind of misty, smoky highlight. Little bits. This is just a small amount of atmosphere. On a still life, things like this are kind of important because they are so static. They're literally a still life.
Yeah.
And so having little dramatic moments where you have little subtle touches like a bit of atmosphere kind of in the corner. And just making sure that there's good light transition. And I like that. So as you see, it's subtle here and then darker here. Little touches make big differences in final paintings. I'm going to rinse my brush out, and then I'm going to fully dry my canvas again. And if you're doing glazing liquid with me, the glazing liquid adds about twice the time to dry, so it just takes you double the time to dry it. I'm still doing my hairdryer on a cool setting, and especially right before we do a traceable, because if you don't, the acrylic can be soft and it leaves indenser lines in your canvas. So we want a cool setting for color shift and to keep the paint from being too soft. So I'm going to do a transfer method here. I have Ceril paper. That's this product right there. I have it in white, and it's specially made so that I can take a line drawing like this and transfer it onto my canvas. If you'll notice, it's sort of white and dusty. It's like having a paper made of chalk that can leave a line drawing on your canvas. Now you can freehand this or use the traceable. Either way is fine. It's a complex shape, so I kind of recommend using the traceable a little bit. I'm going to come right here, a little bit towards the edge. I'm just placing my image where I want it on the canvas and taping it down in 4 spots. So dusty side down, transfer and the paper together in 4 spots. I use low tack tape, which,
low tack
supposedly keeps it from tearing up the canvas or the paper. And so far, in my experience, that is true.
You know what they say about that high tack tape?
High tack tape?
It's so tacky.
It's so tacky. Oh, I knocked my ear thing off.
No.
All right. Get this one on and this on. All right. I'm going to use glasses so I can see what I'm doing. And I'm going to use my Mikador EcoFlow pen to line over my transfer. I'm going to press down fairly hard. And I go over every line that's in the traceable. Now, this traceable is free and available on the website. The link to it is in the description of the video. You just have to open the More to get it. And then you just download it and print it out. Now, it is important. I've got some instructions in the community tab and stuff. When you're doing a traceable and you're printing it out, making sure you've got the right settings on your printer. I'd say that's the most challenging thing for you guys, getting the traceables out, is just having the right settings on your printer. Which I can't tell you what they should be because your printer is different than my printer. But generally you want the size of it to be 100% scale, and you want it to fit well within the paper so that you can trim the excess paper and fit it to the 8x8 canvas. Now, one nice thing about using a pen like this is I can kind of tell where I've already gone over lines. Just come around this outside edge here.
You know, I'm not wanting to disparage this teapot, but it does look tall and not short, but stout.
I'm sure the teapot can handle your criticism of its relative height.
It's aren't you tall for a teapot?
Well, I liked it because of the many complex curves that it had. It made an interesting painting subject. You know, not just the fact that it had, you know, the metal and the kind of patina that it has, but also the contrast between, you know, the fabric here and the metal and the flowers. They're just really interesting to me.
This teapot is totally metal in the 90 cents.
I have to agree. You don't have to bring the cloth too far back because we're going to have a bunch of flowers here. So it's one of those things where we sort of generalize it and then paint tons of flowers over it. Oops. That's going to look a little crazy when I pull it off, but that's all right. Have some thick lines here and there. But what you should have then is a nice little line transfer on your canvas that you can use to start blocking in what you've got, which I think is always kind of good. All right. That's fantastic. I don't need to dry or do anything. So we'll just go on to the next step. Okay. I'm going to take my burnt sienna and my Mars black together. Remove that hair that got on my palette, because that would not be fun in my canvas, would it?
No, I don't think that it would be.
Sometimes it's hard to get hair out of paint. It doesn't want to go. So Mars black and burnt sienna and a little bit of titanium white. And everything here is going to be that dark brown color. Kind of brown gray. Lots of neutrals here. If you do the suit, like yesterday, the fabric event there is going to make this easier here. Like each painting does kind of build into the next painting, the next painting. I do kind of try to make sure that they all relate to each other and that skills carry forward. So as you learn to do stuff, you get introduced to a new element of it. All right. I like that very, very much. And I'm going to rinse out. And then right here, I'm going to actually just take my burnt sienna and start my table in as a burnt sienna table. Painting in the wood later, but right now I just want to get this in.
Get the fundamentals in.
Yeah, I'll take this back a little bit. And again, we're going to have flowers there, so we don't want to do the best painting of our lives back there. Take a little bit of my burnt sienna and Mars black, and I will make a dark I may even make it darker than that, but right now we'll just do the brown and the black. All right. That's not too bad. So what we're doing is called blocking in. We're just putting the general colors of the items, and I try to pick not the darkest value in there, but I tend to pick in the lower values and the darker values and the deeper grays. And that's really just because that gives me a nice place to work up where I can highlight and shade both directions and have a good time with that. Now I'm going to take a little bit of my, I think I'm going to take a bit of my cad yellow and cad red together. Get a nice kind of little orange going there. Let's mix in a bit of that for the teapot, and I'm going to grab some black. So that's cad red, cad yellow, a little bit of yellow ochre, and some black. I'm going to start putting in this color on the teapot.
Get that sort of under copper.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not the darkest shadow on the teapot by any means, but what I'm doing is getting the basic value in color. So you'll notice that we're going through and we're painting it, but it's all kind of dark.
Copper's a funky color, man.
It really is.
Because it polishes to a really high yellow, sheen.
Mm-hmm.
So it can be super reflective and just be ultra yellow.
Or very matte.
Or very, very matte. And you go from browns to greens, and just because that's how it oxidizes. And it can make these really beautiful patinas, especially as different acids and like just from your hand or foods or the air interact with it.
Well, that's interesting. Now what I'm doing here is I'm just kind of painting in everything. I will put back my details later because, well, that's easy. I paint with the corner where I've got curves and things.
I would own this teapot.
You would own that teapot?
It's a nice teapot.
It is a nice teapot. We see that at the share house. You can grab that teapot. Be a good teapot for still life.
Be excellent teapot for still life.
Just brushing this through here. So it's the deeper color in the copper. But not by any means the darkest color in the copper.
Yeah?
Not by any means.
No, that's true.
Because we have a very kind of dramatic lighting. Coming in like the corners. You could do a round brush if you're having trouble with your angle. Oh my goodness, this is a 1/2-inch angle brush. I just painted this whole thing without telling them what brush it is.
Well,
it's a 1/2-inch angle brush. So sorry.
But we do have that in the description.
We have it in the description for sure. The brushes that are used, but right now what I'm using is a 1/2-inch angle brush. You could use a different brush. You don't have to have this brush. I just like the way it lets me take care of these curves and these different elements on the teapot. I use the corner to paint when I've got detailed areas. I can actually do entire paintings with an angle brush.
Yeah.
I don't do that very often with you guys because it takes a lot of skill to be one brush. And I'm already throwing so many things at you. I try not to do that too much. I'm just making sure that everything that I'm working is painted in correctly. Okay, got that in there. All right, now what I'm going to want to do here is dry everything thoroughly, and then that'll let me remove my white lines later once it's dry. But right now I just need to dry it very, 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 very thoroughly. So I'm going to want to work on my tabletop for a little bit. I'm going to take my cad red and my cad yellow together, and I'm going to make a yellow orange. And then I'm going to mix a little of my burnt sienna into that. And come along this little edge. And just dry brush across a little bit of highlight. Sort of layered over it. Just a little bit. And we're going to leave the corners dark. Again, we're not going to do the greatest work of our lives for this because there's going to be tons of flowers right here. And so it wouldn't be a good idea. I'm going to go back into my little rag color, which is my burnt sienna and my Mars black, and a little bit of titanium white. And I'll make a slightly lighter color. Get a little more brown into it because I want it to be distinctly a brownish, like gray brown little rag. A little bit lighter. Sometimes you'll mix it and you'll be like, oh, that's like the same value. Come here and just very carefully, 1/2 inch angle brush again. I wiped off on the towel because it was too juicy. I'm going to go ahead and making short little strokes. Kind of dry brushing this second little layer on. And then back here, I definitely want to get it more brown and black. We're going to come under the teapot with that. Little brown and black. Brown and black. It's quite dark. It's the shadow.
Yes.
I'm going to go ahead and kind of have some deep little wrinkles there. Up and down with the shadow. Right here, I might add some little deep shadow wrinkles. Tap, tap, tap. So I'm just adding little folds, little areas of shadow. It might get even darker, might get like pure black.
Yep.
Just make this very dark right here. So I've got a nice little shadow going. And I'm going to make lots of little marks. And I'm going to want to come back into sort of my grayer one that has a little white into it. And on this toe of the brush, I'm going to paint out some what is like fringe. Little bit of fringe. It's quite dark. But we're going to highlight.
I had to, on the side angle, I had to increase it so I could see what was going on kind of over there a little bit.
Yeah, because it's quite dark.
It's quite dark.
That first gray, you want to have it be kind of dark because you want your... I'm going to come along here with this lighter gray and I'm fraying the edge, if you'll notice. Making little tiny marks, fraying that edge. Fray the edge. There's a little more white in here. Add some little light stringles. See how we're adding little light stringles? All right, we're going to want to dry everything, and when we come back, I'll tell you what we do next. I want to add a little texture here, so I'm going to take my 3/8 inch Princeton Select filbert grainer. This is like a filbert brush that has had like little scissors come and piece it out so that the brush is sort of like makes these fine little hair lines. You can make one of these for yourself by taking a filbert and little scissors and snipping out little bits of it to make that uneven edge, or you can get one of these brushes. I'm going to get my brush a little bit wet. I'm going to add some glazing liquid to it. Let's grab some white and come right here into our brown gray mix. We're going to make a light color. Needs to be about one shade lighter than what we've had so far, and I'm going to just load on the tip. I'm going to come here and make these little lines. Now this one curls back the other way. So we're going to use brush directionality to kind of speak to the way this fabric is folding. See how we're doing? Now back the curve the other way. So some of the curves are up and some of the curves are under. A little too much, I can just blend that out. And then I'm going to come here and kind of come across. I might have to remove that line right there. You can kind of see how the cross hatching gives you that feeling of fabric. And the shadows now start to feel like the fabric, like sort of folded back across. I like that. Do you like that, John?
I do.
It's pretty, isn't it?
Yeah.
Now I'll make some little marks there to just highlight a bit. A little bit on the edge there. Okay. And I'll make some little highlights to the little strings. Not everything. Not everything, but a lot of it. And I will fray the edge here, making little hashy marks, which again shows the little hairs that are coming off this little fabric. So now we have that nice folded bit of fabric, which I really, really love. And we'll use glazing and everything a little bit later to even push it down further. But right now, that's pretty good. If my canvas is completely dry, another thing I can do is I can take a damp brush and go over to remove the chalk lines. Now, if I allowed my canvas to completely cool and dry before I did the transfer, these will remove very easily. There we go. That's doing pretty well. We're just like cooking through, aren't we? cooking through.
Yeah.
All right, now we're going to dry everything thoroughly, and when we come back, I'll show you what we do next. So I'm going to take a number 6 Raphael Sepia round. I just want a nice round brush, and I'm going to get it a little bit wet, bring it over to my copper color, which is a little of my cad red, cad yellow, yellow ochre, and occasionally some Mars black. So we'll work that in there. Gives us a nice shaded version of our this is brass. A little more yellow ochre into it. So I'm going to take that slightly dark color. I'm going to come here to my teapot handle, and I'm going to make a little shadow right underneath the lip. Brush down a little bit of that dark color. Come about halfway here. And then I'm going to go ahead and get my lighter color on there. Come across the top. And a little bit of a highlight right here. We're just creating our first kind of sculpted values around the teapot is what we're doing.
Yep.
I'm going to grab my lighter color. I'm going to come here and kind of paint the outer side of the bell. If I need to get glazing liquid to improve the flow and extend it, in other words, make it go further, I can totally do that at any time. I'm going to just brush this first sort of copper layer in. And then grab a little bit of my shadow copper. Could even be more shadow copper. And then I'll just blend that through. Again, this is just the first layer. Smidge, smidge, smidge. I'm kind of just circling the brush and sort of blending by making like diffused marks, if you can see what I'm talking about. This is a nice way to do this because metal has a nice sort of pounded feeling. Really goes over quite well.
Yeah.
Make a very dark, dark, dark version. I'm going to come underneath here. Just down the neck a little bit. Just kind of wiggle my brush along. And that sort of dry brushes it out.
Yeah, really adds so much texture so quickly.
Does a lot real fast. Sometimes I'll like just pick up a little bit with my finger. Right? Because you want this to be a little bit dark. Then I'm going to get into my just main copper color.
The main copper.
Yeah, the shiny part. And I'm just almost scribbling this in. multi-directional brushwork. I'm not breaking the bristles of my brush. I'm just using it to create diffuse lines. Blendy, blend, 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 blend. Maybe a little more cad yellow and burnt sienna right here. Wipe my brush off. There we go. We're getting some shading on there.
So it's just so much like dimensionality. Just.
I'm going to add a little bit of my shadow color to the back of the hinge. And then grab some of my highlight color and come along here. A little bit of a highlight there. Oh, that's a little too yellow. Just a little bit of a highlight. Come right here and add a little bit of a lighter color. I'm in the circle. And then from here up to here, I take off at an angle. Get a little red in there when I need to. And I'll add a little highlight there. And then coming through here, curve a bit of a highlight on the back of that teapot handle. Get a little of my black involved. Get that dark brass color. And on some of this, the value should be dark enough that it kind of almost vanishes into the background.
Into the darkness.
A little bit of that there. And I'm going to definitely say that down here it's quite dark.
Yeah, it really is quite dark.
Right, so
we can see it.
We can see it because of the bits that are lit up and the architectural elements that we're working with. I'm going to take a little bit of my highlight color again. I'm going to come on the front of this. A little bit right there. And then back into my shadow color. And shade that under there. So that is the first blocking in of the teapot, which I think went spectacularly well.
That really did.
Like we can really see our teapot. We can really feel it. Now what we're going to want to do is dry it thoroughly. I'm going to get back into my 1/2 inch angle. I'm going to mix a little yellow and red and make a yellow orange. Smidge of yellow ochre into it. And come right here. Begin to highlight in multi-directional. See how I'm turning the brush over and creating kind of irregular light pattern? Maybe not quite that far forward. Dry brushing down. Dry brushing back. But you can see that the teapot's getting a brighter highlight there. Kind of curl across.
kind of
create
some of that, yeah.
Yeah, I want to make it feel a little hammered. I'm hammering it. And come here and I'm going to come across here with a little sharp line. And brush this up. A little bit more on the front of the teapot. Teapot. The teapot. I'm sorry, I'm very excited about the teapot. Carry that out a little bit further. Can always come back down in here and add a little more highlight to that belly. Belly, belly, belly. Cross. And then over. Highlight this a little bit. I want to come in here and kind of add a little starker highlight right there. Come across here. And a little stronger down here. Can always get a slightly more shaded. That's too shaded. Blend that down. We'll have to have a very specific highlight coming up at this crease to bend the metal. But what I want to do is have a brighter highlight right here, and that way when I come and highlight this, it'll be like, whoa! Maybe a little more yellow. A little burnt sienna. Just like to add just little bits. All right, I'll rinse that off real quick. Rinse, rinse, rinse. And I'm going to get my shadow color. Make sure that I kind of exaggerate the forward corner of that. See that? Use the sharpness of the brush to do that.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I'm going to want to dry everything. Show you what we do when I come back. Now I'm going to want to start to pop some really strong highlights in. So I'm going to get a lot more of my yellow. It's okay if it picks up a little of my black and my yellow ochre. I'm going to come right here and begin to hit like a bit of a highlight. Right there. Coming up there's a few little highlights. A little bit right here again. A little bit there. A little bit there. We're just kind of popping it in. Then I'm going to get my white. put a high reflection there. I just barely touch this. Just very, very light. I may have to take it back. I'm just working the toe of my brush. And I may glaze some of this back into the background along there just to make that work better. A little bit of one here. Right there, just a touch. I may need to glaze that back, but you can see the minute we hit these highlights, it becomes hyper metallic. Little white. A little bit there. And just a kiss of it down here. Cross and across. And rinse my brush out just to make sure I'm in proof flow. Hopefully you guys are getting kind of excited. A little bit
I
of my,
like it. I'm excited.
a little bit of my gold color, and I'm adding some white. A little bit on that joint. A little bit across there. A little bit right there. And just very carefully. Now, if you don't have control of the 1/2" angle brush, you could just use a detail brush. Oh my goodness, that is looking really good. All right. Let's dry everything and I'll show you what we're going to do when we come back. So I'm going to want to add some more shadows. I'm going to take a little bit of my black over towards my glazing liquid, and I might even get a little blue into it, just so it's got the ambient room kind of feeling. And I'm going to come here and very carefully glaze a little more shadow. And push that back a bit. You can use a round blending brush. You don't have to use your finger. I'm just weird.
That's okay. No, you can blend. You can blend how you want to.
Kind of come underneath the teapot. See, we're just dramatizing the shadow.
It's dramatized.
It's dramatized, but not traumatized. So again, you could use one of the round blenders. Sometimes people have allergies to the ingredients of acrylic paint.
Yeah.
So it's good to know if you do or you don't before you put your fingers in it.
Right.
But I've been painting for like decades, and I'm very sure I don't. Very, very, very sure. Okay, everything needs to be dry for what we're going to do next. Now I'm going to take a number 8 Raphael Art Knitting brush. I like the scruffiness of this brush. That's why I'm choosing it. I'm going to get it wet and dry it off with a towel. And I'm going to begin with a little bit of my cad yellow and yellow ochre together. A smidge of burnt sienna. I'm going to get some white. And I'm going to begin by using this brush to paint little puffs. This is the baby's breath. I'm going to definitively say that what my advice here is have big marks, have little marks.
Right.
The flowers, they're just kind of they're a round shape. And they're usually packed fairly dense, so you'll see me pack these flowers fairly dense. I'll be very dense about it.
Very dense.
Very intense, very dense. Just building it up, building it up. Gonna build up the flowers, building them up. Easy to get wound up in the flowers. Weaving them together.
Yep.
Weave, weave, weave. Weave, weave, weave. Weave, 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 weave. Just a little bit. It's a quiet moment. It's quiet work.
Yeah.
That's good work. You want to make sure that you have big and small sizes. And there's a lot of it through here. Remember I said, like, don't do the best work of your life over here because we're going to just paint over the whole thing? This is why. Sometimes in painting, knowing that you don't have to have, like, paint everything perfectly that you're going to paint over really keeps you from getting too exhausted in your painting. Because if you painted the best wood of your life and the best back end of a teapot of your life and then you had to paint flowers all over it, it would be a little disheartening. I'm going to rinse out. Every once in a while, it's important to rinse out because the paint begins to dry on your brush. But when I do, I wipe it off with a towel to squeeze out the extra water. Take a little bit of that white over here. Get back to my original kind of color. Little burnt sienna, a little cad yellow, a little yellow ochre, a little titanium white. So we got a little sprig going up there. Pretty heavily over on his side.
I like the little sprigs there. They add a little texture to the foreground.
A little bit, a little something. All right. Now, I'm going to want to dry everything so that I can do the next layer, sort of a dry brush over these flowers. So let's dry everything and come back. We'll add a little highlight. I'm noticing that this reflection to me looks a little bit bright. So I'm going to go into my shadow copper color. I'm going to use my grainer again, and just very carefully sort of glaze a little bit of a, there we go, so that the reflection is not quite as bright through here. Fussy, I know, but it would bug me and bug me and bug me, so it's better to fix it now than do it later. Now I'm going to take a little more white over to my baby's breath color. Kind of load up. It's still an off-white. It's just a whole shade lighter. I'm going to add some highlights to my flowers.
Nice.
Just using the tip of the brush. This is one I just enjoyed painting today.
Yeah, it's just a nice, pleasant. I love the metal work and how this has turned out.
Just a pleasant painting to do.
Really is.
The two-tone of the flowers really makes a difference.
Yeah. So cool.
Just perking up the baby's breath. Just highlight it a little bit. Rinse out. Rinse out. Now I think I'm going to use my angle brush for the next part, and we'll see if that works out for me. If it doesn't, use a small detail round. I'm going to just load the tip of my brush. Might get a little glazing liquid on it so that the flow is improved. I didn't use any fluid paint.
Yeah.
I really thought I was going to need to.
Yeah. Turned out no, huh?
Nope. That's not going to be fine enough.
Nope. Just gotta you have to get more
The
detail.
tiniest brush. Pick it up. All right. Let's see what my miniest brush is that I have. Okay, this is my number 0 Raphael Precision, and I think I will get my fluid paint involved because I need to improve the flow and keep the color in there. I'm going to get a little water into it and work some of my fluid paint in. The stems are important. They help us identify this as plants.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Just a little bit of stem work in the baby's breath. Yeah, not too much though. I'm going to rinse off this brush. So now I've rinsed off my brush, and I'm going to come back into my shadow color and my glazing liquid. All right. I'm going to load that up. I'm going to come underneath some of these flowers. This will absolutely help us kind of anchor these down into the table. I don't put dark shadows everywhere, but I do put them through some of the little flowers. I really like it how it is.
Yeah.
I'm tempted to sign on the side again because I love this little delicate work down here, and I don't want to come across it with the signature and kind of erase it out. I could sign over here,
Yeah.
but I feel like
It's your painting.
sometimes I like to sign the front, and sometimes, well, maybe I could do it right here.
In that little space right there. It could go right there.
Maybe, yeah.
Go right there. Yeah. Right down in there. Psst.
Maybe a little bit of yellow ochre and burnt sienna. Maybe I can do just the lightest little. Signature. Need to do lighter than that.
That's actually, I can barely see that. There we go.
Again, I don't ever like it to be like all about my signature. So I'll just do it small today.
Yeah.
There we go. I don't know if that...
I like it. It's so cool. It's a teapot.
No, I'm just thinking I don't like the signature there.
Oh, no, I like it.
I'm going to erase it.
Oh, no. I like it.
You do?
I do.
All right. I'm going to leave it.
I like to see your mark on things.
Likes to see my mark on things. So that's what love is like.
All right. Let's come back and get you bigger.
Okay. Well, that was just a delightful little study on metal.
Yeah.
I love doing metal studies and still lifes because they just give you a lot of opportunity to work on value and reflection. I like it when there's a lot of different textures also, like the way that we had the fabric texture here versus the little baby's breath versus the metal of the teapot. Like it all just played against this nice atmospheric background. So overall, I really just enjoyed doing this today. I can't wait to see yours. I want to know what you did and what you thought and how your experience was, because the whole point of doing this daily painting journey together is for you to have your experience. So definitely hashtag the Art Sherpa, hashtag Acrylic April, throw that up on Instagram, throw it out to me on Facebook. And if you are not enjoying Facebook, like in the main feed, and you're like, I don't know if I go over there anymore, I have 2 closed groups. Those groups are curated, like we approve posts, we approve people into them, like we have questions, there's no bots, there's no spam, we don't do any of the topics that gets people into crazy fights. In fact, we keep it a very, very peaceful group. And so if you want a place to share your paintings and talk about your experience, good and bad, it's a fantastic group. If you want to talk about your art supplies or art supply, anything. In fact, if you ever need a place, like you get a really fantastic art haul and it feels like weird to put it out on social media because like people are like, oh, you got so many art supplies, come by our group and share. We will cheer for you. That's the vibe of the group. Like, woohoo, we'll support your shopping. So all of that is such a good space. That's the Art Sherpa official on Facebook and Acrylic April on Facebook, 2 places that are just fantastic. Also, I have a website. You can sign up for the newsletter to get more interesting newsy information. We've got a text you can sign up for, which John can put up on the video when he gets a chance. And and you can sign up for that to get notifications when we're live, when something's happening, we'll tell you. So there's a lot we do with our community to reach out. So, and don't forget the extra information that's in the description down below. You know what the last thing is for you to do? Be good to yourself. Be good to each other. And I want to see you at an easel real soon. Bye-bye.